Let's be honest. Life doesn't hand out instruction manuals. Nobody sits you down and says, "Here's how to survive heartbreak. Here's how to rebuild yourself when everything falls apart. Here's how to face the world when it's not fair." No one teaches you that. You learn it the hard way, through pain, through failure, through being underestimated and still showing up anyway. We're told to be kind, but not how to be strong. We're told to chase success, but not how to handle failure. And somewhere along the way, we forget that growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to challenge who you think you are. So today, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to give you the truth. The kind that stings a little but frees you a lot. The kind that forces you to look at yourself and say, "I can do better. I can be better." Because life doesn't reward the people who wait for easy. It rewards the ones who adapt, who evolve, who refuse to quit no matter how hard it gets. Comfort is the enemy of growth, because the very moment you start feeling too safe, you stop evolving. Human beings are wired to seek familiarity. Our brains crave certainty and stability because they feel like control. But the truth is, nothing extraordinary ever grows in a place of comfort. Every time you choose comfort, you choose the illusion of peace over the reality of progress. Comfort whispers that you're fine where you are, that you don't need to push harder, that you've done enough. And for a while, that voice feels good. But slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to settle. You start accepting, good enough, when you were meant for more. Growth demands discomfort. It's the tension between you are and who you're becoming. It's waking up early when you don't want to, speaking up when it's easier to stay quiet, walking away from what no longer serves you even though it hurts. It's standing in that uncertain space where you don't know what comes next, but trusting that you'll handle it. That's the battlefield where strength is built. Every challenge, every setback, every uncomfortable truth is a chance to become sharper, wiser, and more resilient. People often mistake comfort for happiness, but they're not the same. Comfort feels good for a moment, but it breeds stagnation. Happiness, real fulfillment, comes from growth. When you're expanding your capacity to handle life. Think about it. Every achievement you've ever been proud of came from a moment you didn't want to face. The test you were afraid to fail. The job you thought you weren't qualified for. The relationship you had to end to rediscover yourself. You became stronger not because life got easier, but because you got uncomfortable enough to change. Comfort zones are invisible cages. They're safe, predictable, and slowly suffocating. They rob you of the very essence of life. Challenge, curiosity, purpose. The moment you get too comfortable in your job, your relationships, or even your mindset, you stop asking questions. You stop seeking improvement. You start existing instead of living. And life begins to shrink to the size of your fears. That's how people lose their edge. That's how potential dies. Quietly, without a fight, in the name of comfort. True growth happens when you're willing to be uncomfortable, on purpose. When you say yes to the hard conversations. When you chase the thing that scares you. When you refuse to let fear dictate your limits. Every great leader, athlete, and thinker understood this. They didn't wait for confidence. They built it through discomfort. Confidence is the byproduct of surviving difficult things and realizing you can. Discomfort reveals what you're capable of. It tests your patience, your courage, your endurance. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. The excuses, the self-doubt, the fear of failure. But once you face them, something shifts. You begin to understand that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. That the struggle is shaping you for something greater. Every time you lean into discomfort, you rewrite your limits. You teach yourself that you can do hard things. You stop running from life's challenges and start using them. Because the more you expand your tolerance for discomfort, the freer you become. Nothing and no one can control you when you're no longer afraid of being uncomfortable. That's where real strength lies. Not in perfection, not in ease, but in the courage to keep stepping into the unknown, again and again. Not everyone deserves access to you, because your time, energy, and attention are your most valuable currencies, and not everyone has earned the right to spend them. Too often, people give themselves away to those who take without giving back, to those who drain rather than uplift. We confuse kindness with availability, thinking that being open to everyone makes us good people. But there's a difference between being kind and being accessible. Kindness is a reflection of your character. Accessibility is a reflection of your boundaries. When you allow everyone into your space, you end up losing pieces of yourself in the process. The truth is, not everyone who wants your attention deserves it. Some people come into your life to test your limits, to see how much you'll tolerate, to see how far they can go before you finally say enough. Others will take advantage of your empathy, mistaking your compassion for weakness. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control what you allow. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's the recognition that you cannot pour into others if you're constantly being emptied. You become who you surround yourself with. The people closest to you shape how you think, what you believe, and how you see yourself. If you're always around negativity, gossip, or chaos, eventually, it becomes your normal. You start adapting to the noise instead of protecting your peace. That's why it's crucial to filter access. Not everyone should have a front row seat to your life. Some people belong in the audience, and others don't belong in the room at all. It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. If someone consistently disrespects your time, drains your spirit, or makes you question your worth, they've already shown you they can't handle access to you. Boundaries are the language of self-respect. When you say no to people who cross your limits, you're not pushing them away. You're protecting your space. You're saying, I value myself enough not to tolerate what makes me small. And the ones who truly respect you will understand that. The ones who don't were never meant to stay. Sometimes, the hardest thing you'll ever do is distance yourself from the people you love, because they're not good for your growth. But you can't build peace in the same environment that broke you. Your energy is sacred. It's what fuels your creativity, your focus, your purpose. Every time you give it to the wrong people, you lose momentum toward the person you're becoming. You start feeling exhausted, uninspired, emotionally heavy. That's not coincidence. It's the consequence of mismanaged access. The people who deserve to be in your circle are the ones who challenge you, respect you, and celebrate your growth without feeling threatened by it. They're not intimidated by your strength. They're inspired by it. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to close doors that lead to the same pain. You're not obligated to stay connected to everyone just because you once were. Growth requires pruning. You have to let go of certain connections to make space for better ones. Some relationships are seasonal, and that's perfectly fine. The goal isn't to keep everyone, it's to keep peace. When you become intentional about who gets access to you, your entire life shifts. You stop chasing validation and start valuing your energy. You stop explaining your worth and start living it. You start realizing that being selective isn't about being cold. It's about being conscious. The right people will never make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They'll respect them. Because when you know your value, you stop discounting yourself for the sake of keeping others comfortable. And that's when you reclaim your power. Discipline will take you where motivation can't, because motivation is fleeting, unpredictable, and tied to emotion. While discipline is built on commitment and consistency, motivation feels good. It's that spark of energy when you're inspired by a quote, a video, or a dream. But that spark fades, and when it does, what's left determines whether you succeed or quit. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares about what needs to be done. It's the quiet, steady force that gets you out of bed when you're tired, that makes you keep going when no one's cheering, that keeps your promise to yourself even when the world isn't watching. Most people rely on motivation to start, but they lack discipline to finish. They wait for the perfect mood, the right time, or a burst of inspiration. But successful people know that if you wait for motivation, you'll waste most of your life waiting. Discipline is what bridges the gap between intention and action. It's what turns goals into habits, and habits into results. It's showing up on the days you don't want to, pushing through the discomfort, and doing what's necessary, even when it's not exciting. That's where real progress happens, not in bursts of passion, but in consistent effort. Discipline builds character because it requires sacrifice. You have to give up momentary pleasure for long-term purpose. You have to say no to distractions, to comfort, to excuses. You have to delay gratification and trust that the work you put in now will pay off later. That's not easy, and that's why so few people do it. But those who do are the ones who separate themselves from the rest. Discipline doesn't just make you productive. It makes you powerful. It gives you control over yourself, your mind, and your emotions. Motivation is emotional, discipline is logical. Motivation says, I feel like doing this. Discipline says, I'll do it anyway. Motivation is about feelings, discipline is about standards. The truth is, there will be days when you don't feel inspired, when you're tired, discouraged, or unsure. Those are the days that test who you really are. If you can push through those moments, you're already stronger than most. Because success isn't built in your best moments. It's built in your toughest ones. Every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted to do what you say you'll do. Discipline is freedom in disguise. It may look restrictive, but it actually gives you control. When you have discipline, you're no longer a slave to your impulses or emotions. You can focus on what matters without being distracted by what's easy. You make decisions based on purpose, not preference. That's how real freedom is created, not by doing whatever you want, but by doing what's necessary to build the life you want. Discipline creates structure, and structure creates results. The most successful people in any field, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. They build habits that make success inevitable. They've trained their minds to act even when it's hard. They understand that consistency compounds. Every small act of discipline adds up over time until one day, it becomes second nature. What once felt impossible becomes routine. What once felt like struggle becomes strength. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not loud or dramatic. It's often lonely, repetitive, and unnoticed. But that's where greatness is forged, in the quiet, daily commitment to improvement. Motivation might start the fire, but discipline keeps it burning long after the spark fades. And when you learn to depend on discipline instead of emotion, you stop being controlled by how you feel and start being driven by who you are. That's the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. Rejection is redirection, not failure, because every no you encounter is life's way of guiding you toward what's actually meant for you. It's easy to take rejection personally, to let it bruise your ego and convince you that you're not enough. But rejection isn't proof that you're unworthy. It's protection from something that wasn't aligned with your path. The moment you start seeing rejection not as an ending, but as a turning point, everything changes. It stops being something that breaks you, it starts being something that builds you. Every person who's ever achieved something great has faced rejection. The difference is how they chose to interpret it. Most people see rejection as a wall. Strong people see it as a signpost. When someone or something says no, it's not the universe shutting you down. It's redirecting your energy towards something better suited for you. You might not see it in the moment, but with time, you realize that some of your biggest disappointments were blessings in disguise. The job you didn't get made space for the one that fulfilled you. The person who walked away freed you for someone who would value you. The door that closed forced you to find a new one that opened to something far greater. Rejection tests your resilience and your self-worth. It forces you to ask, do I believe in myself enough to keep going? Because that's what rejection really reveals. Not your inadequacy, but your persistence. It's easy to feel confident when everything goes your way, but true strength is built when it doesn't. Rejection gives you the chance to prove that you can handle disappointment without giving up. It sharpens your focus, clarifies your purpose, and pushes you to refine your craft. Sometimes rejection is simply feedback in disguise, feedback that says, not yet, or not this way. People who fear rejection often play small. They stop trying, stop risking, stop dreaming. They live safely within the limits of what feels comfortable, because they're terrified of hearing no again. But every time you play it safe, you rob yourself of growth. Rejection is not a reflection of your value, it's a test of your courage. The more you face it, the less power it has over you. Every no toughens your skin and strengthens your spirit. You start realizing that rejection doesn't destroy you. It refines you. It strips away what's not meant for you so you can step closer to what is. Rejection also teaches you humility and patience. It reminds you that timing matters. That some doors open only when you're ready for them. Sometimes you think you want something, but if you got it too soon, it would crush you instead of grow you. Rejection delays you so that when the opportunity comes, you're prepared to handle it. It's a form of divine timing, one that only makes sense when you look back and see how the pieces fit together. When you shift your mindset, rejection becomes fuel. It motivates you to improve, to learn, to adapt. It lights a fire under you that comfort never could. You start taking no as an invitation to try again, smarter and stronger. You stop chasing approval and start chasing growth. Because the truth is, rejection doesn't define you. Your response to it does. So many people give up just before things are about to work. They hear no and assume it means never. But if you look closely, rejection is rarely permanent. It's often just a detour. It's life saying, there's something better. Keep going. Every rejection brings you closer to alignment, closer to clarity, closer to your true path. It's not a punishment, it's preparation. And once you understand that, you stop fearing rejection and start using it as redirection towards something far more powerful than you ever imagined. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate, because every interaction you have sets the tone for how others perceive your worth. The boundaries you set, the behavior you allow, and the standards you uphold all communicate one thing: how you expect to be treated. When you stay silent about disrespect, people assume it's acceptable. When you overextend yourself for those who give little in return, you teach them that your time and energy are negotiable. Every time you choose to accept less than you deserve, you unintentionally reinforce the idea that it's okay for others to give you less. Respect starts with you. If you want others to value you, you must first value yourself enough to set limits. Too many people let fear or guilt keep them from speaking up. They worry about seeming rude, difficult, or unkind. But the truth is, boundaries are not walls. They're doors with locks that only open for the right people. They protect your peace, your confidence, and your emotional well-being. When you don't set boundaries, you teach people that your comfort is secondary to theirs, that your needs don't matter as much, and that they can take without giving back. Over time, that erodes not just your relationships, but your sense of self. People will always treat you based on the standards you enforce, not the ones you talk about. You can say you want respect, honesty, and effort, but if you continue accepting lies, inconsistency, or neglect, words lose their power. Actions define what's acceptable. And when someone crosses a line, how you respond determines whether it becomes a pattern. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you harsh. It makes you clear. Clarity is kindness, both to yourself and to others. It lets people know exactly where they stand and what's expected. Those who truly respect you won't be threatened by your boundaries. They'll appreciate them. It's not your job to teach people how to value you through constant reminders. It's your job to model it through your behavior. When you respect your time, others learn to do the same. When you say no without apology, you teach others that your yes has meaning. When you stop explaining or justifying your boundaries, you show that you trust your own judgment. Self-respect is silent but powerful. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it. The way you carry yourself tells people how to approach you long before you ever say a word. The reason so many people struggle with boundaries is that they mistake tolerance for love. They think enduring poor treatment makes them loyal or compassionate. But tolerance without limits isn't love, it's self-neglect. Love doesn't mean allowing disrespect, manipulation, or emotional exhaustion. It means choosing relationships that are rooted in mutual respect and accountability. You can forgive people and still hold them accountable. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. The two are not opposites, they're balance. Sometimes, teaching people how to treat you means walking away when they refuse to learn. Not everyone deserves continued access to you. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries after you've made them clear, it's not a mistake. It's a choice. And when you stay, it becomes your choice too. Leaving doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise enough to stop participating in your own mistreatment. You can't change people, but you can change what you allow. You are the standard. Every time you choose self-respect over approval, you raise the bar for how others show up for you. You attract people who value what you value, who understand that respect isn't earned through fear, but through mutual understanding and integrity. You stop needing validation from others because you've already given it to yourself. And when you reach that point, you no longer have to teach people how to treat you. They'll already know, because you've shown them through the way you live, speak, and carry yourself every single day.